mean, just listening to that conversation just then, the party is at its lowest point since Suez. It's going to take some significant statecraft and discipline, both politically and economically, to turn this around if we're to have a fighting chance at the next general election. But I mean, I really welcome we're entering a reset mode. We're ending this ideological economic experiment, and we're seeing a new strategy roll out. I hope that will demonstrate fiscal responsibility and offer what's so critical: greater predictability, greater stability, parking many of those supply side reforms for another day. Our priority must be in regaining the confidence of the markets, of MPs, colleagues, and indeed the wider public, and rebuild both political and economic credibility.
I wonder if your implication in what you're saying there is that will come as a result of Jeremy Hunt's appointment as Chancellor. And before we consider that in an economic sense, first of all, how much was he responsible for you having the whip returned?
I think it happened at the same time. I don't know. I'm just pleased to be back in the fold. I was in Odessa, if you recall, and I had the whip removed. I think it got a little bit personal. So pleased to be back in. I think it's important that our party has strong one nation voices. We are at our best. We're a coalition. We're made up of different caucuses. But when we lean in and all support a direction of travel, a vision that unites us all, then we can't be beaten. But when one wing of the party takes a hold of the direction of travel, that's where we run into mistakes. So I'm pleased to see that Jeremy Hunt's put his hand up to say mistakes were made. We do need to have better cabinet and government inclusion, better policy preparation and road testing and rollout of those policies, as well as improved communication. So we're moving in the right direction, but we need to recognize there is a bigger picture here. The scale of crisis affecting both our food and energy supply chains, requires absolutely, improved leadership and a move to an economic war footing. And at the moment, we're back to that blue on blue, which has just dominated our party since the leadership campaign, which I think actually goes to the core of what went wrong. Our party membership got the final say. So contestants made promises to win votes that would never survive contact in reality. And I'm pleased to see that William Hague, who it was his decision, in fact, for MPs to have that decision removed, handed to the membership, now agrees it should be reversed.
Lots to consider as the Conservative Party attempts to move forward. I wonder if I could ask you, Tobias, if at this point, if you received an instruction, a hypothetical instruction for this example, from Liz Truss, and a contradictory instruction from Jeremy Hunt, whose instruction would you follow?
That is hypothetical, and it goes to the heart of what's gone wrong with our party at the moment, with different instructions coming out from different departments and then having to be overruled. You should never be in that position. That bond, that relationship between number 10 and number 11 is absolutely pivotal. And we've seen in our history, recent history as well, is when that goes wrong, then that's when the government goes wrong. And we saw that with Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. We've seen it with Geoffrey Howe and Margaret Thatcher, and we've seen it more recently as well. There's the difference of opinion. I'm really sorry that Kwasi Kwarteng has sort of taken the fall in this case.
Should Liz Truss have taken the fall? Is that what you're getting at there?
Well, Liz Truss, this was Liz Truss's project, and that's why I'm saying I'm pleased to see that we're now moving in a very different direction. And we had some bizarre micro decisions, such as denying Prince Charles from going to COP27. That's just complete madness. I do hope that Prince Charles will now be able to attend
King Charles.
Sorry, absolutely, yeah. That's old terminology there.
No, that's all right.
Thank you for correcting me. But yes, that King Charles can indeed attend as Prince. He's been pushing forward this particular issue way before the rest of us sort of caught up with its importance. I didn't understand that decision, along with denying non-graduates from joining our police forces. We had different messaging coming from different departments. So the question that you ask should never arise.
That's an interesting thought, and yet here we are, I suppose. Interesting also to note on your your suggestion of a reset mode of getting on an economic war footing, ending kind of ideological driven decision making in this regard. Of course, as we stand by for Jeremy Hunt to deliver the next economic statement in a couple of weeks' time, how concerned are you with all that is forecast, predicted, and all that is now necessary? How concerned are you that Liz Truss's promise to increase defence spending to 3% of GDP is going to become the next promise to evaporate?
Yeah, we need to look at that very, very carefully indeed. One of the attractions, again, of those promises made during the summer was the increased defence spending. I've said it time and again that our world is getting more dangerous, not less. We're not doing enough to actually stand up and defend our way of life, our values, our standards, and aggressive authoritarian states are taking advantage of that. And I make it really clear that our economy, our prosperity is absolutely tied in to our national security. They are one and the same thing now. I would argue that no fiscal statement should ever be promoted or rolled out before being scrutinized by the National Security Council, such as our exposure to globalization. We embraced it, and perhaps arguably more so than other countries. So when you then reduce your defense spending, you're actually saying you're exposing yourself more to those dangerous international movements, and that would then affect the Treasury's coffers. That would affect all government departments. And we are so exposed economically across the world now, supply chains and so forth, access to trading routes and so forth, even the security in the very countries that we trade with. These are all considerations that if you reduce your defense budget will be affected. And don't forget, the last defense review saw our army reduce in its size. It saw our ships reduce in numbers. It shows our number of F-35s go down from 138 just to 48. So we're already getting smaller at a time when the world's getting more dangerous.
Just a couple of final thoughts as well. It's interesting to get your take on so much that is going on. As you say, what a time to be back in the Conservative, or to have the whip restored in the Conservative Party. I want to ask, if I may, when the last time you were in touch with Rishi Sunak was. Of course, you ended up supporting him in the leadership contest over the summer. Have you been texting, emailing, or on the phone to him in the last couple of days?
Not in the last couple of days. I mean, he kept a lower profile during conference. I chose to go to the Warsaw Security Conference instead. We did say that we would catch up, but no, I've not been in touch with him directly.
Interesting. It's just, I only ask because the Telegraph suggests that the Rishi Sunak camp is jubilant this morning and sees a path to number 10 through all of this. Are you feeling jubilant?
Jubilant isn't, I think, a word describing anything to do with the Conservative Party right now. As I say, this is very serious indeed. And the urgency now must be fiscal responsibility. It must be what the markets say tomorrow in the next couple of days. That must be our focus. Of course, there's wider concerns about the leadership, but the process in which we select the leadership, that is the core of the heart of the problems. Those ridiculous promises that were made and weren't road tested during the summer. It was a completely wasted summer because of this. And the inclusivity. We've governed in the past from a one nation stance, and that should be, the coalition of strength, of tapping into the talent across the party. We've lost sight of that, and that's what we really need to reinvigorate.